Hey, what's up guys, Snoomy Minotaur here. Today I am finally making my last review video for not only Chapter 4, but obviously Chapter 4 Season 4. Now, as you know, at the beginning of the season, I was praising this season about just how really good it was, and well, you can kind of tell from the title and the thumbnail here, I am still loving this season. I have to be honest with you here, this is probably the best season from Chapter 4. I have a lot of positives to realistically say about this season. There are a few things that hold this season back from being a absolutely perfect season, because there's no such thing to me personally as a perfect season of Fortnite. But I will say this was definitely the strongest season we have gotten from Chapter 4, especially because of the previous season where that season was just absolutely terrible. So let's hop into the positives here, and obviously I always start off with the Battle Pass. And wow, the Battle Pass lineup this time around was absolutely fantastic. Now I will say this, I do have a few issues with this Battle Pass, but they are pretty minor issues. Even at that, I do think they are pretty big issues in general, and that actually has to be the tier 1 skin and the secret skin. Have to start off with talking about the tier 1 skin, Nolan Chance, probably the worst skin out of the Battle Pass here. I don't know why they didn't add any other edit styles to him. Like, the edit styles that he got were pretty decent, don't get me wrong, but I think that he should have gotten some more edit styles, or just like the super styles at some point, because comparing it to the other tier 1 skins that we've gotten, like even from Chapter 4, for putting it in this perspective here, he is definitely the worst one that we have gotten, period. I'd rather take any of the others that we've gotten in Chapter 4 than this skin. It was just done terribly. Easily the worst skin out of the Battle Pass, and definitely holds this Battle Pass back a little bit for me. But the other contender, oh boy, Ahsoka. This would be our third Star Wars skin we have ever gotten in a Battle Pass, and just like all the other ones, most notably with the previous one that we had, this skin was done dirty. When literally the best thing about this whole set, other than like the skin itself, because the skin is good, is probably the back bling. I do think the back bling was really well done, and honestly I think it should have been a pet, I'm just saying. But we don't talk about her pickaxe. They literally did a Darth Vader spoon, but instead they made it a spatula. Like, oh my god, I call this the Ahsoka spatula. It was so bad. But other than that, everything else in this Battle Pass I really loved. I will say some of my favorite skins from this Battle Pass was Fish Thick. I think this was definitely one of the best meme skins we got from Chapter 4. Kato Thorn was definitely an amazing tier 100 skin, and I have to give credit to the other Chapter 4 seasons as well, other than last season. Thank you for bringing back original skins as the tier 100. A lot of people were getting tired of the collaboration skins taking up the tier 100 spot, and I'm so glad that we did get an original tier 100 skin most of the time for Chapter 4, and I hope it continues on. But I didn't think a lot of people were expecting Antonia to be a really strong skin, and wow, this skin blew up with the Fortnite community. Probably the best skin from the Battle Pass, and I honestly think this skin is going to be a very sweaty skin in the near future, kind of like the core skin from Chapter 2 Season 8's Battle Pass. That skin basically blew up in the competitive side of Fortnite. I definitely say Antonia was definitely my favorite skin from the Battle Pass, but that's not even just the skins themselves. There was also the emotes. I really liked some of the other emotes out here. I didn't really think there was a single bad emote out here. I think my two favorite ones was the Crack It emote, and the one emote that's basically like Beat Saber. That was a really good emote as well. And even at that, there were some amazing pickaxes, pretty decent back blings, and some really good gliders. Overall, this Battle Pass was definitely one of the best Battle Passes from Chapter 4. It definitely fit the theme very well for the season, being a heist theme. I will say this was not my favorite Battle Pass from Chapter 4. In my opinion, I think it has to go to Season 2 because of just how unique that Battle Pass was, and just how well the theming of that season was when it came to that Battle Pass. This is definitely a close second, don't get me wrong. This Battle Pass is really good, but overall, yeah, this Battle Pass is really good. I don't know why I'm continuing on with this conversation here. Another big positive I actually have to talk about here are the new locations that we got. I really love the new locations that we did get. I really like how they all felt like you were basically in a heist film. Like, it really felt like you were actually doing a heist in these areas. They were pretty well done, and they had a lot of really good loot in there as well. Just the POIs in general, very beautiful, very nice POIs. I didn't find a single new POI bad, which again, I have to mention this here like I've said in previous videos. Chapter 4 when it comes to the map changes, especially at the very beginning of the season that they are going into, are done pretty much almost flawlessly. I don't think we really had necessarily any really bad locations from chapter 4 in my opinion. There were some which were, you know, questionable, but I will say that the map changes that we did get, more or less when it comes to the new areas that we got, were done very well. Speaking of things that I'm actually very surprised about here was the loot pool. I am very much surprised with how many really crazy gameplay changes that we got and just the amount of stuff we got with this season when it comes to the loot pool. I think the loot pool was actually pretty damn good. I really liked how they brought back old mythic items that were basically last seen from like chapter 2 and chapter 3. I think that was really cool to bring that back and give a lot of people basically different options, which I have to give this loot pool credit where credit's due. The loot pool and like the meta was changing so much with this season. Like that is crazy. It didn't really change a lot from last season realistically when I'm talking about that season, but this season it changed a lot and I have to give this season so much credit for that. I do have to say some of my favorite weapons that we did get this season were definitely the twin mag assault rifle. This was a very good gun, probably one of the best assault rifles we have had in Fortnite. The rocket ram was also a very awesome item as well. I thought this thing was going to be pretty overpowered, but it actually was pretty balanced, believe it or not. And the other one, which is definitely a very much of like a hot take, but the infiltrator pump shotgun, I actually really like the infiltrator pump. A lot of people didn't like it because obviously the sharp tooth shotgun, easily the laziest weapon in Fortnite history, was still in the loot pool, but you know, I completely understand people not gravitating towards this gun, but I found this gun to be very, very good. I think it has to do with the fast fire rate on this gun, but I will say this here. Was it a better replacement than the Havoc pump? Absolutely not. I will say the Havoc pump is way better than this gun any day of the week. And not to mention, we also had really awesome new vehicles which were introduced, and we also had awesome EMPs introduced into this game as well, which they were actually pretty balanced and you can actually use them to get gold. And the freaking turret, we had a little briefcase turret which I thought was going to be pretty powerful, but turns out it is a little annoying, but it's more or less pretty balanced and it is a very fun item to use. There were other weapons that we did get, which is going to lead me on to my next point here. My another big positive here was Fortnite. I am very much surprised to say that Fortnite this season was really good. I'm not going to talk about everything here because I'm saving that for my review video, which should be up after this video at some point, so stay tuned to the channel by the way for that video. But I will say this here, it was way better than last year's. I will tell you that right now, especially with some of the new things that they added in, like they added a new like wood stake shotgun into the game, which is a very questionable shotgun, but I will say it is a very fun shotgun to use, and it's a Halloween shotgun. It's an original shotgun, which is awesome. And do I even need to bring up the fact that they brought back the kinetic blade but in a mythic version, which essentially gave off siphon when you hit people with it? This thing was awesome. And I didn't even get the chance to talk about Todoroki's ice wall or Sokka's lightsaber. Like, there was a lot of really good items in this loot pool that were really good. But ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to go into the negatives here. My first negative is actually going to be the storyline. I did not care for this storyline at all this season. There really wasn't realistically anything other than like what's happening recently with Fortnite OG, which by the way, go check out my video talking about it if you want to go see it. This was the only bit of storyline that we essentially got, and Kato Thorn was just not a good villain. Like, they wasted him so badly. Like, why build up a villain when you're literally not going to use him for pretty much anything? And is that just not me? Is that me or what? I don't know. I still love Kato Thorn. He's a good skin though, really good skin. But my next negative is actually gonna be the lack of updates. Not saying that we didn't get updates, because obviously we did, but more or less updates surrounding the season's theme. I really feel like in terms of this chapter, this season in general, I felt like it very much suffered from this, which I really wish they definitely brought out some more heist items, which they did at the very start. After the update went live, we had the EMPs, and then we had the very overpowered sticky grenade launcher, which is honestly a negative in my opinion, even though it is probably one of the best explosive weapons we've ever seen in Fortnite. I will say that it is very strong, and even after it got the massive nerf that it got, it was still overpowered, and I still have to say I'm kind of glad that it's gonna be gone because it is just so broken. But other than like those two items, we realistically didn't get anything else which themed around this season other than like the collabs and obviously Fortnitemares. That was pretty much it, which honestly I find to be pretty disappointing. And my last negative, while this really isn't a big negative here, it's kind of a little nitpick. I wish the season wasn't that short. I really feel like this season just being a few weeks is just really sad. I really wish we were staying in this season up until like December, but honestly, kind of glad we're going away from this season. Not saying that in a negative route because obviously we're going into chapter 1, but I do really wish that this season did go on longer. But overall, chapter 4 season 4 was such a phenomenal season. In my opinion, I think it's a 9 out of 10. I really loved this season. Easily the best season from chapter 4 and one of the best seasons in my opinion since chapter 3 season 1. This is definitely one of the best seasons we have been through for a while, and just overall with chapter 4, I think it was pretty disappointing when it came to the map itself. I think that was the worst part about this whole chapter was the lack of live events. We didn't even have a single one. Maybe we might get one at the end of the season. I highly doubt it. Maybe some form of like a solo event before we go back to chapter 1. I think that would just make the most sense because having no live event just going into like another map just doesn't make sense. Literally chapter 3 had it and that was bad enough, but still. But I will give credit where credit's due for chapter 4. Just overall, I think they did a really good job with chapter 4 when it came to the loot pool, the new weapons that we had. I think we had some of the best weapons ever introduced into chapter 4 just in general. I commend them entirely for that. Epic, hats off to you for this chapter. I really hope that Fortnite OG is done very well, and I do hope that chapter 5 when it comes out in December is a smash hit. But ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today's video. I really hope you all enjoyed. If you did happen to enjoy this video, consider subscribing to the channel. Don't forget to check out my Twitter, aka my X account. Socials are all on screen. Thank you all so much for watching. I love every single one of you. Remember everyone, it's always good to take chances.